Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I love you. This message is about truth, speaking our truth, understanding our truth, and realizing how by being in our truth and speaking our truth, we are actually alchemizing density into light. Many of us are recognizing that we are being pulled, pushed, urged to start speaking our truth more, right? The external is getting more intense. There's more duality, there's more polarity boiling up to the surface. And we are finding ourselves taking a stance, needing to speak up. So I want to bring a perspective to you in terms of how to speak your truth from a place of a higher state of consciousness, remembering and understanding how this works energetically, how to not necessarily engage in arguments or combative back and forth behavior that doesn't feel good. And at the end of the day, realizing that what you are actually doing by speaking your truth is alchemizing and shifting the collective. So first, what is truth? Truth is a frequency, okay? And your truth is based on your frequency in your body. Now, really quickly, your body is holding many different frequencies. So imagine all this energy moving around, and some of it is at a 3.3, some of it is at a 5.0, some of it is at a 4.6, right? There's all these different frequencies. But your body is always anchored into a specific frequency, even though there's all these other frequencies moving around, denser frequencies, higher frequencies. This anchored place is a baseline. It's almost like the average of all the frequencies in your body. And this baseline is the frequency that your body is pulsing out in every now moment as your energetic field, the pulse that goes out, and it is your resonance. This baseline is what is always slowly shifting us into higher frequencies. It's not you. Remember, you're a higher consciousness. It's the physical body that's doing this. Also, your resonance or frequency, that baseline, can be felt differently in different days, right? Different months. So 3 months ago, the baseline was different. Your truths were different. 3 months from now, your baseline will be different. Your truths will be different. So you want to remember that. Your baseline doesn't stay the same. Your truths don't stay the same. Your resonance doesn't stay the same. Your frequency doesn't stay the same. Your resonance is that aligned state of knowingness. It is your truth. It is when you are aligned with your frequency. It's when things feel right. Not right or wrong, just it feels right. It feels good. It feels aligned, right? You hear teachers talk or your friends talk or your family talk, somebody talking on media or social media, and you're like, oh, that feels right. That resonates. Your body may get goosebumps, right? There's a resonance to this. There's something internally that I am agreeing with. That's my truth. Many times your truth is not validated or experienced externally. Your truth is internal. It's your knowingness. It's your truths. So the best way to find your truth is to always come into your body, settle into you, your frequency, your energy, your intuitive voice, that higher self voice. What is your truth, not anyone else's? Because what you are recognizing that's happening in the external right now is that we are being pulled into other collectives' truths, other humans' truths, right? Almost bullied at times or forced into other people's and other groups' truths. So it's very important right now to come back to you and your breath and to figure out what actually aligns with my frequency and my resonance. So if you're listening to somebody speak and you're just kind of feeling, oh, something doesn't feel right, right? You're listening to a YouTube video, you're reading a post on social media, right? Whatever it is that is externally, that you are externally engaging in. Move past the words, right? Move past the human and feel into the frequency of what is being pulsated out. And feel your own frequency and resonance pulsating out. And when they connect, what are you feeling? Oh, this feels uncomfortable. This doesn't feel right. There's something off about this. Oh, this feels good. This feels right. This feels aligned. I like this. That's what you want to do. Instead of focusing so much on this third dimensional physical aspect of the message. Who's speaking it? I must have to believe it if it's this very famous person, right? If a whole million, 2 million, 10 million people are believing this, I must be believing this, right? You want to get away from the physical third dimensional existence and experience of the messages, because that's not what's important anymore. What's important is your truth, because you are a way shower, a light worker, a starseed, whatever word you want to use, a warrior of light. You are designed to shift and alchemize the external, the human collective. And you can't do it if you are following along with the herd sometimes, right? You have to see things as energy as opposed to physical, just the words coming out, okay? So that's truth. And you want to recognize that truth is energy, it's frequency. Now, here's the other thing about truths. There are an infinite amount of truths. And every truth is true for the individual human that is vibrating at the same frequency as that truth. Okay? So there are an infinite amount of truths. They are vibrated at different frequencies, from a very low frequency to a very high frequency. And the human is going to believe and feel aligned with those truths based on their frequency. And as you've noticed in your own personal experience, your truths are constantly changing, right? So, truths reside in paradigms, in programs, in belief systems, in behaviors. And there are an infinite amount of programs, paradigms, behaviors, belief systems. And based on your frequency, you will find yourself aligning with, agreeing with, participating in specific paradigms, programs, belief systems, behaviors, based on your frequency, right? And so you want to recognize this is all frequency and energy. There's no right or wrong. Yet, as you start holding higher frequencies, you'll be pulled out of those lower frequency truths, and you will be feeling as if you need to speak your truth. Here's the key, you guys. Speaking your truth is not about convincing somebody that their truth is wrong. Speaking your truth is about holding that frequency that's in a higher state in order for it to emanate out from your body, knowing that just by doing that, you are alchemizing the lower densities, the lower truths, the lower paradigms, the lower belief systems, the lower behaviors. So it's not about one human against the other, one group against the other. It's frequency and energy. Okay? So we really want to pay attention to that. That's how you are alchemizing. That's how you're alchemizing. You're alchemizing by remaining in the truth that you're holding, whatever frequency it is, without the need or desire to pull somebody into your frequency, to force somebody into your frequency. That's not how you shift the collective. We don't shift the human collective by bullying people, by making people wrong, by trying to argue or convince people. we shift the human collective, we alchemize the density. All of the things you are seeing coming up right now, we alchemize it by speaking our truths, recognizing and remembering that it is in a higher frequency than many other truths. And just by me holding that truth and speaking that truth, there is an energetic pulse going out that is energetically, without me doing anything, alchemizing. It's alchemizing the person that doesn't believe my truth, that believes a truth that may be and is in a lower frequency, no right or wrong, just a lower frequency. And I don't need to prove anybody right or wrong. They don't need to prove right or wrong. Based on the ascension process, which is happening naturally, and based on your remembrance of how this works, you are learning how to shift all of this and speak your truth without force, push, or argument. Because what happens when you start to argue perspectives, right? When you start arguing your truth with somebody else, what happens is that it's a hamster wheel. So let's just say there's a person, your family, your friends, your lover, your partner, your teacher, your coworker, whoever it is holding a different truth than you. And let's just say their truth is in a 3.8 frequency and your truth is in a 4.4 frequency. No right or wrong, it's just frequency. When you start to argue with that frequency, you are jumping in, they're jumping in, and all of a sudden there's a hamster wheel of these two different frequencies rolling around each other like a wrestling match, and nothing's happening, right? Nothing's happening except this twirling of energy. You're in the 3.8, they're fighting the 4.4 too, right? And they're getting angry and argumentative. They don't want to feel that. They don't want to experience it or hear it. You're in that 3.8 frequency and you're like, I don't like this. This is horrific. Why is this happening? You want to start to recognize that arguing and combating, first of all, how does it feel in your body? How does it feel in your body? Just stop and feel it in your body. Most of us, when we are arguing, our heart rate goes up. We maybe start to sweat. We can feel ourselves having a little bit more anger perhaps, or irritability, anxiety. Feel what is going on in your body while you argue or combat or try to convince or persuade somebody, right? Typically, the human body is going to have a reaction that doesn't feel so good. Okay, so you want to start to recognize that when you're arguing, it's a hamster wheel. And what you want to start to do is watch how the other person may or may not want to argue with you. Let's say they do want to argue with you. And if you know, if I start arguing, there's going to be this hamster wheel and it's going to go nowhere. Arguing goes nowhere. It's just like this. Instead, you recognize they're holding a truth that's based on a frequency that's in their body. No right or wrong. I'm holding a truth that's inside of my body based on my frequency. No right or wrong. My role is not to convince them or to prove them wrong or to say I'm right and you're wrong, or I deserve to have my truth, you need to shut up, right? Instead, you stand in your aligned, sovereign resonance and frequency. And you remember that by just speaking your truth without a reaction or a response or a need to prove, that is doing light work. That is shifting the collective. That is alchemizing density into light. Because at another now moment, they may or may not remember this exchange. It may or may not shift them just a little bit by truly just speaking your truth. And if you have people coming at you, you don't want to hold this stance of, this is what I believe. You just don't believe this, and you're eventually going to believe this. You're just in a lower state of consciousness. That's a combative energy. You don't want to hold a combative energy. If you're holding it, just be aware of it, right? If you're in this stance of, you can't tell me what's true, I know what's true, this is my frequency, I'm a light worker, and I'm shifting the collective, so stop it, right? If you're in that space, recognize it, because that's not the aligned state. The aligned state is open-heartedness. The aligned state of your truth is neutrality. The aligned state of speaking your truth is that all truths are based on frequency. The aligned state of speaking your truth is that no frequency is right or wrong. The aligned state in speaking your truth is recognizing that you're shifting the collective just by speaking your truth, and you don't need to tell anyone what you're doing. You speaking that you're shifting the collective by speaking your truth, so you just need to chill out, isn't going to do anything for anyone. That's actually not doing anything. Your frequency, your energetic resonance on its own, by remaining in your body and lovingly, unconditionally, compassionately speaking your truth, is what shifts the collective. That's what shifts the collective. We are programmed to, because we have emotional reactions and responses to what is occurring externally. We get angry, we get upset, we put our foot down and say no more, and that's okay. We have to allow ourselves to have all of our human emotions as we learn how to speak our truth from a higher state of consciousness. We're learning this. So let's just say that the vaccine conversation is really irritating you. The masks are really irritating you. The coronavirus, the COVID-19 and all the shutdowns are really irritating you. The other things that are unraveling right now in the governmental structure is really irritating you. The political system is irritating you. Whatever it is, you're going to have an emotional reaction to it because your energy and its energy. Great. There's going to be a knee-jerk reaction to argue, perhaps. Okay. This is about learning how to speak your truth from this higher state of consciousness, from this aligned state. You practice. So here are, let's see, the 5 steps of practicing, 6 steps of practicing all the time how to speak your truth from an aligned state. Ready? 1, you remember that you are the observer. You're observing yourself speaking the truth, and you're observing anybody else that may be either listening or trying to tell you their truth. You're observing from a higher perspective, which allows you to remain neutral. Neutrality does not mean that you don't take a stand. Neutrality, the observer perspective, doesn't mean that you don't hold a truth. It means that you hold a truth from a neutral perspective, allowing everybody else to hold their truth. That is neutrality. I have my truth. They have their truth. There is no right or wrong. That's neutrality. A lot of people get this idea of neutrality means that you don't care, that you don't have an opinion, that you don't have a truth, that you're just going to sit in this high frequency state. No, not at all. So step 1 is becoming the observer and staying in a neutral perspective. I'm holding my truth. I'm seeing myself holding my truth based on my frequency, and vice versa. Step 2, all truths are real. All truths are real. All truths are truths for whoever is vibrating at the same frequency of that truth. And remember, truths are based on paradigms, programs, belief systems, behaviors. So step 1, be the observer, neutral perspective. Step 2, remember that all truths are real. All truths are real. Step 3, my truth is valid. My truth is valid. Step 4, truths are based on frequency. Simple as that. It's not human against human. It's not groups against groups. It's density alchemizing into light. And we're just physical in a third dimensional consciousness experiencing this. Step 5, no frequency is wrong. No frequency is wrong, which means no truth is wrong. It's just in a lower frequency, and it's alchemizing and shifting. Step 6, you are shifting the collective by speaking your truth from this aligned state. Step 7, I guess there's 7 steps. Open your heart center. Feel love, feel compassion, feel empathy when you are speaking your truth. I'll say these all over again. Step 1 is being the observer and holding a neutral perspective. Step 2 is remembering that all truths are real. Step 3, your truth is valid. Step 4, all truths are based on frequency. All truths are based on frequency. 5, no frequency is wrong. No frequency is wrong. 6, you are shifting the collective with your truth by stating your truth from an aligned state. Step 7, opening your heart, opening that 4th energy center, aligning with that heart space, aligning with love, aligning with compassion, aligning with empathy as you start to speak your truth. Okay? All truths are real. My truth is valid. Observer neutrality. All truths are real. My truth is valid. Truths are based on frequency. No frequency is wrong. I'm shifting the collective with my truth, and I'm coming from an open heart-centered space with love, compassion, and empathy. And pay attention. Side note, pay attention to what is actually your truth and not what you have been programmed to believe blindly as your truth. You will feel the authenticity of truth coming from somebody else, coming from a group, coming from a teacher or a leader, coming from a social media post. Get out of the physical third dimensional existence of what you're seeing the person speaking, what they look like, how popular they are, how famous they are. Get away from that third dimensional lens and move into a higher state of consciousness by moving into your body and feeling, does this feel right to me? Does something feel off? When I watch this person speak, when I watch this group speak, dive in to the energy of it, you guys. Dive into the energy of it. Go beyond what you are seeing, the physicality of it, the words. Go into the energy, and you will start to wake up even more. The human collective has been brainwashed and programmed by the media, by social media, by a large other human collective. And we have to start to move back into our aligned, resonant state. Our frequency is all that matters. That is why you are here. That is how you shift the collective. Not by following the herd. Not by just believing what is told to you. Especially if it is based on a forced do this, a forced feel this, a forced believe this. Why are you not believing this? Why are you not following this? Why are you not doing this? This is going to be something that we are going to become very natural at doing, but it takes practice. We have to see through this matrix that we are standing in of the third dimension. And there's nothing wrong with speaking your truth, because most of you are feeling this pull to start speaking your truth more. That's why you're here, because you're alchemizing density into light. But when you do that, what are you also noticing? Others wanting to argue, combat, disregard, fight what you're saying, try to bring you into what they believe. So confused by what you're saying, they don't understand you. They can't understand you. It's frequency. And you are not right. You are not wrong. You are frequency, and you're learning to be your frequency and speak your truth based on frequency. They are not right. They are not wrong. They are speaking based on frequency. We have to pull this apart. We have to stop fighting that which we are alchemizing. Because when you continue to fight something, you are in a third dimensional consciousness, which is fine, but just know that. And you're in the hamster wheel. Fight, fight, fight. This is different than protesting or standing up and speaking your truth and wanting to make a difference in the world and wanting to change things, right? It's different. If you're feeling that call to protest, to speak up, to say no more, those types of things, most likely, if that's your calling, you are in an aligned state. You are in an open-hearted state. You are following your resonance. You just want to watch when it starts to teeter into anger, rage, fear, bullying, force, that kind of thing, right? You just want to watch where your frequency moves when you are in that aligned state speaking your truth. So for instance, when you have a family member coming to you saying, you're crazy, why do you believe that? That's ridiculous. That is so stupid. How do you not recognize that this is what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. Stop for a moment before your knee-jerk reaction is to argue. Let them know you have a different viewpoint. Your truth is your truth, and there's nothing that you can do about that other than being your truth. And you honor and recognize their truth. And from that place, we're going to allow the truths to not be the same. You're dissolving the argument, and they may or may not dissolve it. They may continue to fight with you. But your role is not to fight back or argue back. It's to learn how to be the higher state of consciousness that your body is shifting into over and over and over again. And hold that in the midst of everybody else going crazy around you. It's not their fault. They don't know how to handle the chaos. You're the way shower. Guess what you're doing? You're showing the way. How do you do that? By learning how to speak your truth without argument. Then they're going to look at you like, wow, she or he, they're not arguing with me. Why are they not arguing with me? How are they so comfortable just speaking their truth and allowing that to be enough? That looks peaceful. I can't do that. Or that annoys me. I need to argue, right? But eventually it will shift many humans that want to argue by you being the way shower, showing the way of how to speak your truth when everyone around you is arguing. Come from that open-hearted, loving space. Go through those 7 steps over and over and over again. Practice, 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 because I can guarantee you, keeping yourself quiet isn't going to feel good. It's not going to feel good. Think about Jesus, right, walking around, or Mahatma Gandhi, or Mary Magdalene, or, these really powerful, Mother Teresa, these really powerful humans that spoke their truth, even in the midst of fire, right? Martin Luther King, right? They spoke their truth from a higher state of consciousness. And they never tried to point their finger and say, you are wrong, right? They never did that. They spoke, this is my truth. And they knew that by speaking their truth from that higher state, from that aligned, open-hearted state, that it would shift. Nelson Mandela, beautiful example that just came in. This is what we're here to do, and it takes practice. I love you so much. I am in awe of your human journey. even if you are not in awe of your human journey. This is how we shift the collective. This is what we're here to do. This is why you're here. Please don't beat yourself up because you can't do these steps. Please don't beat yourself up when you are arguing with somebody. Please. These messages coming in right now through me are not to make you feel worse. They're not to make you beat yourself up. They're to bring a bigger perspective to your now moment to practice, not to beat yourself up. So if you find yourself arguing, okay, let that be okay. Because the next time you might not. The next time you might do it from a different state. And maybe not. Maybe it takes 10, 15 observations of you arguing before you finally have one time where you don't argue and it's a party. You throw a party for yourself, right? These are baby steps, you guys. Please don't beat yourself up. It doesn't happen overnight. I still argue. Not as often, but I still find myself arguing. I still find myself wanting to tell somebody they're wrong. I still find myself saying, how in the hell do they believe that? How are they thinking that? How do they not see the truth, right? That's part of being third dimensional. Our bodies are still third and fourth dimension. So it's part of being in this physicality. But what we are doing is we are also trying to and practicing being in the higher states and remembering the bigger picture. We're squeezing ourselves through this growth spurt of being in the higher realms, of being the higher consciousness that you're holding right now in your body, instead of ignoring and pretending and shutting down because it's too intense. You don't know how. You can't do it. Forget it, right? We're just courageously putting one foot in front of the other, practicing with more compassion for you and every other human as you can possibly hold in your now moment. How much compassion can you give yourself? There's nothing wrong with whatever you are doing right now. Nothing. There's nothing wrong with however you are responding and reacting right now. There's nothing wrong with whatever you are feeling, thinking, experiencing right now. There is nothing wrong with you, wrong with it, wrong with your human journey. You are opening yourself up. You are expanding. You are remembering. You are awakening. You are shifting. And because you're here to do it for humanity and the earth plane, we have to practice. We have to get to work, so to speak, right? But please don't put the pressure on you of like, oh my God, I'm not doing my work because I'm arguing. Please don't do that. Please. Oh my God, I must not be alchemizing the collective because I'm arguing. Don't do that. And if you do that, observe yourself doing that and give yourself compassion. Okay? It's okay. This message is about remembering. This message is about practice. This message is about loving you, having compassion for you, and understanding what truth is, and how to find yours, and how to speak yours, and how to shift the collective in doing all of that while you still stand in a third dimensional field. It's miraculous, and it's courageous. I love you. Thank you for being here.